This is Richard with PROPO D-Force Aviation, and this is the 7th in a series of videos designed to help the viewer program their Elite or Matrix transmitter for electric flybarless helicopter use. As always, safety is of primary concern. The programming of the radio is to be done with only the transmitter on. The model should not be powered up, and the motor should not be connected. This is the first of 2 videos that will discuss the use of trim input switches. This video will include mapping the gyro gains for each axis to trim input switches on the face of the transmitter. Okay, we're going to start from the home screen by touching the menu button. We're now on the first page of the function menu. We want to end up on the second page of the system menu. So we're going to touch the system button on the upper left. We're going to touch the arrow to the right of the screen to get to the second page of the system menu. And we're going to touch the trim input switch button or icon. We're now in the trim input switch screen. We're going to use the first 3 trim input switches, 00, 01, and 02. We'll start with 00. Under mode, there's a box or button that says inhibit. We're going to touch that. A small window has appeared that says inhibit, direct, or tentative. We're going to touch the direct button. We now have additional information on the screen. Under input range, we're going to increase the size of the steps for our trim input switch from 4 to 10. So we'll touch this button that says 4 in it. We're now in a small window that says step in the upper left-hand corner. We're going to increase this from 4 to 10. Hit the red X to back out. To the right is an icon or image of a switch. We're going to touch that. We're now in the switch select screen. We're going to touch the flight mode switch in the upper left-hand corner. Now we're in a smaller window that says flight mode in the upper left-hand corner. Below that, we see 4 boxes that are highlighted. Normal, stunt 1, stunt 2, and hold. We're going to touch normal, stunt 1, stunt 2, and hit the red X to back out. Now there's a box to the right under the word that says logic. In the center of the box is the word on in red. We're going to touch that. We have a small flat window with on, off, or and in it. We're going to touch or. Now we need to select the actual trim input switch from one of the available trim tabs. In this case, we want to touch the rudder trim tab to control the rudder gyro gains. So we'll touch the image of the trim tab. We have the enlarged view. We've seen this many times before. We're going to touch the image of the rudder trim tab again. We have a new window appearing in the center of the screen with T4, which is the designation for the rudder trim tab in the upper left. To the right are 3 boxes, position 0, position 1, and position 2. We're going to touch position 0 and position 2. We'll touch the red X in the upper right to back out, and we'll touch the back button on the screen. Now we're going to physically touch the back button on the face of the transmitter. We're going to repeat this operation for our trim input switches for aileron gain and elevator gain. Now we're going to press the physical back button on the face of the transmitter to return to the system menu. We now want to go into the function menu. So we're going to touch the function menu at the upper left. We're going to go to the second page of the function menu by hitting the arrow on the right. And we're going to touch the Gyro Sense button or icon here. The familiar confirm servo hold window has appeared. We're going to touch yes. And now we're in the Gyro Sense menu. We're going to touch the center of the three buttons on the left here, which is the sub-menu button. A small window has appeared that says delay setting, lift up setting, trim input setting, and calibration. We're going to touch the trim input setting button. We're now in the Gyro Sense sub-menu. We have a table here that shows the gyro number, the channel used, and under trim input where it says inhibit, this is where we will select the trim input switch to use for each function. I'm going to touch the inhibit button here. We now have a window that says trim input. Inhibit is highlighted. We're going to touch trim input switch 00, which is our rudder trim tab. And we can see in this table of information that gyro number 1, our rudder gyro, channel 5, is controlled by trim input switch 00. We're going to repeat this for the aileron and elevator trim input switches. We're now going to press the physical back button on the face of the transmitter. We'll press it again to return to the function menu. And now we need to go back to the system menu one more time. So we'll touch the system menu button at the top left. We'll press the arrow at the right to go to the second page of the system menu. We'll touch the trim input switch button one more time. And now we're back in the trim input switch screen. Our focus this time will be this column where it says input and it's inhibited. To the right of trim input switch 00, which is our rudder trim input switch, we're going to touch the inhibit button. Now we have the familiar image of the transmitter again. We're going to touch the image of the rudder trim tab. On the enlarged view, we'll touch it again. Note that the word inhibit is no longer highlighted. I'm going to press the back button. And now where it said inhibit before, we see T4, which is our rudder trim tab. We're going to repeat this for our aileron and elevator trim input switches. To the right of trim input switch 01, we're going to touch the inhibit button. We're going to touch the image of the aileron trim tab on the screen. On the enlarged view, we touch it again. The word inhibit is no longer highlighted. I'm going to touch the back button. And now we can see that the word inhibit has been replaced by T2. Now for our elevator trim input switch, we touch inhibit. We touch the image of the elevator trim tab. In the enlarged view, we touch the image of the elevator trim tab. The word inhibit is no longer highlighted. And our trim input switches are fully operational. Now let's check them. We're going to press the physical back button on the face of the transmitter. We're going to go back to our function menu by touching the function button. We're going to go to the second page of our function menu. And we're once again going to touch the Gyro Sense icon. Confirm servo hold yes. Now the default value in all flight modes for the gyro sensitivity is 50%. Let's move the rudder trim tab and observe the change. Let's try this with the aileron and elevator trim tabs also. Now I'm just assigning arbitrary values here for purposes of demonstration. I'm going to hit the flight mode switch.
Step 1. 1.
We're now in stunt 1. You can see the position indicator has changed to position 1. And let's just assign some more arbitrary values. I'm going to hit the flight mode switch one more time and go into stunt 2.
Stunt 2.
Again, the default 50% is there. So as I flip through the flight modes,
Stunt 1. Normal.
we can see the values for each flight mode change to where I set them using the trim tabs. So now we can see that through the use of trim input switches, we can control the gyro gains for rudder, elevator, and aileron independently in each flight mode and adjust them in flight. Now again, these values I just put in were arbitrary. I was just bumping trim tabs. I will be setting these back to 50%, which is my preferred starting point for tuning a helicopter off camera. Okay, in the next video, we're going to once again talk about trim input switches, this time to control the governed throttle curves in flight. Thank you.